All right, we're back with another auction mock draft review. This one we're going to talk about zero running back strategy, which is, comes and goes in popularity, I feel like, over the years. And sometimes some years it sounds really well, especially like last year when you wait and you get like Kyron Williams and stuff like that, right? And everyone else gets hurt. But it's a riskier way to, I think, play. And I've never been someone who does it a lot. Right. So what we did, we went on Fantasy Pros on their simulator they have for auction drafts and tried out a couple of these drafts to see, okay, how's this going to play out for us? And we did two of them. And I think the difference between the two shows how the risk is involved with this strategy. First one we did, we decided, okay, we'll in this kind of strategy, we're going to probably pay for a quarterback, right? Maybe we'll pay for a tight end. I think this is actually the difference between the two too. So we went Jalen Hurts, spent a little bit more. We got Mark Andrews at tight end, spent a little more. And we obviously, if you're going zero RB, you better be getting wide receivers. That's, really the big key. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs. I like those groups. Our running back, we ended up going Alvin Kamara. Took a chance on Nick Chubb. If he's healthy, awesome, right? Our other running backs are just weak in there. Give us a C. Don't love that team. I don't know. I was just kind of like, the running backs are, you're hurting. You are going to be going for that waiver wire. Team 2, though, we decided not to spend on the tight end. I think that was a big difference. We still decided on quarterback. We got Mahomes for an okay $21, $22 price. We got CeeDee Lamb. We got Jamar Chase. We got Garrett Wilson. So we went even bigger on receivers in that one. No really other receivers. Our running backs, though, we waited and waited and waited. Like the first one, we got Kamara, spent a little more. But this one, we really waited, right? And all of a sudden, we found a deal for Swift. We weren't going for Swift, so we got Swift. A deal for Zach Moss. Like, all right, we got to take him. Then the deals started just popping up, right? Pollard, Tajay Spears, Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson. We got all those guys. You would hope one or two of them do something. If it falls like that, I feel really good.
Yeah,
that's the key.
the depth of the bench. It wasn't the amount of talent for the running back, but it was the fact that we got so many of them.
It was how many. Yes, you're right, because you're hoping out of the 6, 2 of them do something.
Yeah, and when we say we got a deal on Swift, I think he went for 11.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's where we're like, we're not getting anything lower than that. Let's grab one. And then, we were hoping that we could pair Spears with Pollard.
Which we've done a lot of drafts. I like doing that.
we absolutely love that. And then Jonathan Brooks was one that we just had no idea we'd be able to. It waited so long that everyone else was out of money as well.
Yep.
I will say it was big risk, big reward.
Yes.
I really do like that team, and I think that along with waivers and trades and anything else you do, it gives you a lot to work with.
Yep.
But that first team, even though you do have a lot of good players, I do think you're a little more boxed in, and I would not want that would not be where I'd want to start from. So this could have easily went the other way, though. If you have just one other guy waiting that has a lot of money, if they took, say, 2 of those running backs away from us, we'd be hurting again.
It's very risky, and it can work though. When it works really well, and that's I think the draw for people in this is when you get those receivers, and then you hit on the running backs. It makes you think like, oh, I can do this all the time, and it just not every year those running backs are there, and sometimes you struggle to find any running backs.
Yeah, and we still paid for very interesting on this one. You cannot get like a really cheap quarterback. You can't get a cheap tight end. I do think if you're in a league where you could get one of those for cheap, you could save even more money. And then I really do think that is going to be completely dependent on the league you're playing with. Depends on how much of a deal you can get later on.
Yeah.
Because I will say the thing that scares me the most, playing with real people, there's always someone that accidentally does not spend enough money in the early ones, and they have all the money in the world to mess with you at the end.
Well,
and I think that's what worries me the
part
most.
of what helped us is, again, we've talked about this when we talk about our strategies for auction, is once you get your guys at the beginning, you nominate guys in the middle that you don't want. You get the money off the board. And we kept doing that with running backs, the top running backs that were available that we knew we weren't going to go for. And we kept nominating them. So they kept getting off the board, and other people kept buying them, obviously. So running back money was gone, and people had running backs. So it left the guys that we felt better about. I don't know if we feel good about those other guys too, like Ramondre and those guys, but they weren't $5. So that's the key. So we just got money off the board in the middle. But again, we had our team set early though. You don't get that money off the board till you're pretty set, and that's what we kept doing. And I don't think I'm going to go with it, but if you feel it's just auctions are auctions, right? And that's the biggest thing is you don't know from draft to draft what those prices are going to be. And this one, the second one worked, the first one didn't. It's so tough to know. And every draft though has those deals. They're there, but you just never know for sure who they're going to be. And it's such a risk. It makes it tough. I think it becomes too risky for me personally. I think I'm going to not do this. I feel I still will go after we've done studs and duds and we've done zero RB. I'm still going to lean studs and duds and do it that way, because maybe I can still because I want to be balanced between between the positions, and maybe I can still get some of these deals at the end of these running backs. Yeah. That's where I'm going to. This didn't sway me on, even though that second draft was really good. It still didn't sway me.
No, the only other thing that maybe we could have tried, zero RB can really work if you fall in love with some of these lower end guys, right? So if you really think Jonathan Brooks is going to be amazing, or you're like, hey, Mostert has 1 year left in him, I think that offense he's going to get 10 touchdowns, whatever you think. Yep. Singletary, anything like that, you could actually throw those guys out early, and as long as they don't go for way more than you think they're going to, you could lock them in, and then you could spend all your money on wide receivers, and you already know that you have some of those guys in your back pocket. It might not be a bad way to go about it either. It does obviously, tip your hand as far as like what you're doing, but I don't really care about that.
No.
So that'd be my only other one. If you really do believe in one of these guys and you can get them early, you can set it up to know, like, I'm going to pay what I'm going to pay for Amon-Ra, or I'm going to pay what I'm pay for Garrett Wilson. We already know that. CeeDee Lamb. Like, he's not going to go less than $55.
Yep.
So I get this running back I think is super underappreciated. You like Eckler, I get him for $8 or whatever. Okay, now let me go ahead and spend that money.
Yep. You know what I think the key might be for this year for me, thinking about these drafts, is I think spending on a tight end is going to kill you. I think that was the difference between the two. And I don't see any strategy. Maybe the tight ends where you get killed, actually, too.
Yeah, do
you see a scenario where spending on a tight end is going to work for you this year?
No, not at the prices that this was predicting.
Let me take Luke Musgrave, and that's what we think on one of our teams. Let me take Luke Musgrave and see what happens. That's where I'm at right now. I just don't, in what we've been doing, like Kincaid's going for way too much, and a couple of those other guys we like. So unless you can get deals, I mean, in your home draft, maybe it's different. Maybe like a Kincaid goes for cheap. That's the key. But I'm not spending on tight end. No. Just not.
And once again, when we're talking about this certain one was overpricing them to the point where you're paying, I can't remember what, like Njoku, who is
they're all double-digit prices.
Yeah, and that is where you're kind of like, okay, I thought you could get one of these guys for $5. Yeah. I mean, it is not working that way. So when we're saying overpriced, we mean double digits.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm going to go for.
No.
So, but all right, zero RB. It definitely high risk, high reward. It can work. It can work if you feel up to that risk and hope that it falls, because you might end in that draft and be like, oh. You
got to feel good about some of those low end running backs.
Be like, I got just Brian Robinson and Deontay Foreman.
Yeah. No handcuffs, no anything.
You don't want that. But all right, that'll do it for this one. Talk to you guys next time.